Hello lovelies, it's Miss Lady Lace here, and today I have for you the next fabulous edition of my Pinup Fit series. Today I'm going to be teaching you my basic stretch sequence, and this is what I do on a daily basis as well as some other stretches, and I also teach this in my Burlesque Fit class as well as any stretch and flexibility classes. This little stretch regime is great for the person who either wants to become more limber, work on their flexibility, or has a goal like being able to achieve the splits. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on static stretching, and this is where we hold a stretch in a position and we don't bounce up and down. When we bounce up and down in a stretch, this is called a ballistic stretch, and it can actually do damage to our muscles as it pulls the little muscular fibers in and out and could cause micro tears leading to future problems. We want to hold our stretches for 4 to 6 really deep breaths. It's recommended that you stretch for 30 seconds to a minute per stretch, and you can either time this or just listen to some music and breathe deeply. Breathing will also help with any discomfort. It'll just make the stretches a little bit easier. When stretching, you really want to know your own body's limits. If something feels like it's pinching, pulling, or hurting too much, definitely ease off the stretch. A little bit of discomfort is normal, but definitely be careful that you don't overstretch and cause damage in your muscles. Above all, you want to take care of yourself and know your body's limitations. Let's get Pinup Fit with today's stretch sequence. So we're going to start with our legs parallel and side stretch off into one direction. We want to keep our hips nice and neutral, taking deep breaths with every single stretch. We're then going to bend forward, rotating at our hips, trying to keep our back as flat as we can. We're then going to grab the ankle of the direction we're stretching in and try and pull our body down to the floor. We're then going to grab both ankles and try and stretch our head down to the ground, trying to lengthen our spine as much as we possibly can in this position. Breathing nice and deeply, bending our knees, rolling back up through our spine, repeating to the opposite side with our first side stretch. Again, making sure our hips are nice and neutral and not tilting off to the side. Coming back up, we're going to rotate forward and bend with a flat back to try and lengthen out as much as we can. Before now grabbing our other leg and pulling our head down to the ground again. We're then going to repeat grabbing both ankles and lengthening our spine down to the ground. And then rolling back up through our spine. We're going to jump onto the ground and do a few back warm-ups, doing a cat back arching and rounding through, breathing in and out. When we're ready, we're going to push up into a downward dog stretch. The aim of this stretch is we want to push our ankles down onto the floor and push through our spine so we have as flat a back as possible while keeping our head in line with our spine. We're then going to come to an upward position. We're lowering our hips to the ground and pushing up through our hands. So we're going to put our weight onto our legs and push backward into a back stretch now, letting our back completely relax in this position. Breathing nice and deeply through this stretch. When you're ready, we're going to hop onto our back and hug our knees into our chest. Your feet in this position can be either flexed or pointed, whichever you feel a better stretch with. We're then going to stretch our legs off into one direction and twist our body in the opposite. We'll get a really lovely spinal twist in this stretch. We're then going to hover our legs back up and repeat that to the opposite side. We're going to hover our legs back into the neutral position. Then we're going to grab our feet and open up into the happy baby position. Breathing nice and deeply through this super awkward stretch. Now our next stretch is going to be for someone who's a little bit more advanced, so if you feel you're not ready, don't move on. But we're going to push up into a candlestick position where we raise our legs above our head and lower them back behind. I find I like to alternate between flexed and pointed with my feet for different stretches. We're then going to lower down through our spine, extend our arms up and grab our feet to pull forward. Breathing deeply through this stretch. And for an extra stretch, you can flatten your back. We're then going to pop up into a seated position and go into a frog, where we're going to grab our ankles and push our legs down with our elbows. We'll then move on to our spinal twist sequence. So I'm going to take one leg over the other, taking my opposite arm to leg and twisting to the back of the room. In this position, I want to keep both my seat bones completely on the ground. I'm then going to maintain the same position and twist in the opposite direction. From here, I'm going to put my weight onto both hands behind me and I'm going to rock my legs up into a clamshell position, so I'm trying to collapse my body together. I'll then lower my legs to the ground on top of one another, reaching up to the sky and stretching forward. We're then going to roll back up through our spine and repeat that whole sequence to the opposite direction, changing to the opposite leg on top and spinal twisting to the back of the room, opposite arm to leg. Changing now to the opposite side, breathing nice and deeply. We'll then unwind our spine, rock back up into that clam position, collapsing our legs and our body together. When we're ready, we're going to relax those legs down to the ground, reaching up again and folding forwards. Breathing deeply and relaxing into this stretch. We'll then roll up again through our spine, taking our time, and we're going to open one leg up to the side now into a pigeon position where one leg is bent and one leg is straight behind us. We're going to start with our hands and our body lowered to the ground, taking 4 to 6 deep breaths in this position. We're then going to stay in the same leg position, but we're going to push up to put our weight onto our hands. So we're really pushing through with our hips. With our back leg now, we're going to bend that in and grab that with one hand if we can. And if you're feeling super flexible, we're going to try and grab with both, keeping our body nice and square with both our shoulders and our hips. We're then going to relax back down to the ground and go into a fourth position with both legs bent. So our top leg's bent in front and the bottom leg's bent to the side. And we're going to lower to the ground if we feel comfortable. If you're not ready yet though, just stay up in that upright position. We're going to come back up out of this position now and repeat on the opposite direction. Now bending our opposite leg in front, the other behind straight. We're going to start down on the floor just as we did in the original sequence. Breathing nice and deeply and trying to push our hips into the ground. When we're ready, we're going to push up onto our hands again, and we're going to push through with our hips for that deeper stretch. Again, if you're feeling a little bit more advanced, you can bend that back leg up, trying to grab it with one hand, and for extra flexibility, you can try and grab it with both and balance in this position for a very deep stretch. We're then going to relax down to the ground into our fourth position on the floor. And if we feel comfortable, we're going to push down onto our elbows all the way down to the ground if we're feeling flexible enough to do this. From here we're going to unfold our legs in front of us and we're going to hug one leg into our chest, breathing deeply for a few breaths here. We're then going to grab that leg, opposite arm to leg, and open it up into quite a deep stretch. Now we want to keep both legs as straight as we can, and for an extra stretch you can breathe in and push against your hand and breathe out, pull against your body. We'll then relax that leg down to the ground and repeat to the opposite side, starting with hugging the knee into the chest. Breathing nice and deeply before pulling that leg up, opposite arm to leg, and flexing and keeping both legs as straight as you possibly can. To gain the most flexibility out of most of these stretches, maintaining good posture and keeping your limbs straight will definitely be the best aid for you. When you're ready, you can relax out of this position and we're going to jump up in the air to start our split sequence. We'll start with both legs upright and we're going to take one leg back so they're in a neutral position, and we're going to stretch down to the ground into a triangle pose. We're going to rock the weight onto our front leg, kicking our back leg out into a lunge. It's really important in this position we maintain our ankle and knee in alignment or further pushed out. We'll then lower the knee to the ground and stretch in this position. We're going to push up and put our hands on our hips. This is a really good way to check that your hips are neutral and you're not opening one up to the side. We're then going to relax back down and we're going to open up our top leg. So we're turning it out from the hip and then lowering down onto our elbows if we can. If you're not at that stage yet, don't worry, just relax in that more upright position. We're then going to push back up onto our hands, and if you feel confident you can bend that back leg in and grab it with one hand for a deep stretch. We're then going to relax back and we're going to put our weight onto our back leg, pushing our front leg out straight, and then we're going to reach forward and try and stretch forward as far as we possibly can. Now this is where we can push into our splits. If you're not ready for that yet, feel free to just skip this part. But if you are, you want to push through and keep your feet in a flexed position, as this will gain the most flexibility for this position. Breathing deeply. When you're ready to come out, we're just gonna fall to one side, going into a jazz split. So we're bending one leg in, and we're gonna then reach forward to grab our foot or stretch either side of that leg. We're then gonna relax back out and get ready to start that on the opposite side, starting with our triangle pose, stretching down to the ground, breathing nice and deeply. We're then going to rock the weight onto our front leg again, and we're going to kick the back leg out into the lunge position, again making sure our knee and ankle are in line or further pushed out. Breathing deeply and concentrating on keeping our hips neutral. When we're ready, we're going to lower that back leg down to the ground. After a few deep breaths, we're then going to come up and pop our hands onto our hips, ensuring that our legs are nice and neutral, pushing our hips through for that deep stretch. We're then going to come back down to the ground, opening our top leg up to the side, so we're opening up from the hip, and then if we feel ready, we're going to lower down to the ground. In this position, it's really easy to want to rock to one side, so it makes you feel like you're achieving more flexibility, but you'll gain so much more by keeping those hips nice and neutral. When we're ready, we're going to push back up again, and we're going to bend that back leg up and grab it with one hand. From here, we're going to push the weight back onto our back leg, and we're going to extend our front leg forward and straight, reaching as far as we can forward to create a really deep stretch. When we're ready from that position, we're going to come back upright and then push into the splits if we feel comfortable. When we're ready, we're then going to go into our jazz split, so we're bending one leg inwards, and then we're going to reach forward to try and grab our foot. We're then going to come back up when we're ready, and we're going to open our legs up into a straddle or into second position. We want to keep our feet nice and flexed in this position. We're going to reach our hands up to the air and then extend forward to fold our body as far as we can. Breathing nice and deeply, because this can be a very deep stretch. When we're ready, we're going to come back up, and we're going to take, just as we did in our arm sequence, we're going to circle one hand to the opposite side. We're going to try and grab our foot on the opposite direction. When we're ready, we're going to relax back up, and we'll repeat that to the opposite side. I do hope you enjoyed today's workout. You've probably found, if you're someone who doesn't stretch that often, stretching is a bigger workout than you imagine, and you'll probably be sore the next couple days. I would highly recommend using a foam roller to roll out your muscles before and after stretching as well, just to prevent any lactic acid buildup. If you enjoyed today's video and would love to see more Pinup Fit videos, do leave me a little comment below, as I'd love your feedback. If you'd like to follow my daily pinup adventures, I'll pop a little link here as well as at the end of the video. I post there super regularly, pretty much every day, a few times a day, because I'm an Instagram addict. I'd love to follow you back as well, so do send me a message if you follow me there. As always, if you'd like to follow all my vintage fun, be sure to hit that subscribe button below, and I'll be seeing you all real soon.